What's up, mortgage coach community? This is a group coaching session. This is week number 9 in a 2-month experiment that Walt had an idea. He brought it to Deborah. Deborah brought it to me, and Todd and I have brought it to life. Jeremy Forcier has been our head coach now for going on 2 months. So Jeremy, first and foremost, thank you, brother, for all the time and love you've put into this project.
Oh, my pleasure. Kyle Shanahan all day.
Right on. Appreciate it. So guys, the vision was this. We would do this group coaching call where there'd be a coach, there'd be players. It was centered around do a TCA every day. And we still are living strong with that TCA a day challenge in a lot of different markets. There's a lot of different branch managers, regional leaders, even mortgage companies that are doing the TCA Day Challenge, and we want to keep that alive. Like that's not going away. If you are listening to this and you want to participate in that, I'd probably watch one of the first calls that we did on this. But we want to keep that going live. In terms of having this consistent every Tuesday at 11, we might bring that back, but we're closing the chapter. So Walt, thank you for your participation as a student in this. Peter Torres, thank you, bro. You actually won Jeremy's regional challenge. So Jerry, why don't I hand it off to you? Because I know you got some takeaways, you got some notes, and you might even have some coaching left in you with Walt and Peter. Why don't you share your thoughts and takeaways?
Awesome, man. Stoked to be here. Something I wrote down this morning that I thought was interesting was, we can't do the minimum requirements in life and expect that we're ever going to be better than anyone else. It's always what we do above and beyond, the extra mile, the stuff that other people aren't doing that's going to separate ourselves in our job, in our industry, in our life, period. And what I love about this group or this challenge in general, and this challenge spreads to hundreds, if not thousands of people across the nation, not just the 6 people who are on here, is that that's what doing something with a discipline like a TCA a day does. It's the extra work. It's the stuff, the extra that we're doing, and that we get to see incremental results, and that we do get to earn that badge of better, different separation in our jobs and industry. So I just want everyone who's listening to this, and I applaud Walt, Peter, all of us that are on here, of really making a concentrated effort to do the things that other people won't do so we can have things that other people don't have. And it's critical that we always remind ourselves and keep our egos in check and remember that the work is the work, and the work is where the success always is going to be. So that was a note that I wrote down this morning. Now, as far as like what I'd love to do today, and Walt, I think that when I was logging on, you were kind of talking about this a little bit, quite frankly, is I would love to go through with you guys and understand, first of all, are you still keeping up the TCA a day? If you're not, like, where's your challenge in it, right? Because things fade sometimes when they don't become regular habits and routines of something that we're going to do no matter what. But I would love to know a couple things I wrote down, right? What has been your increase, right? If you've tracked it, your increase, right, in your conversion since starting this challenge. I'd love to know what your increase in your conversion has been.
16%.
I would also, yeah. So what is yours, Walt?
16%.
So listen to that, everyone. 16% increase. Dude, that's freaking huge. So if you were at, let's just say you were at, what were you at before conversion wise?
So that is for my leads to apps. And so I was at 36 a couple months ago, and I'm at 43 now.
Okay. So huge increase, you guys, huge increase in conversion. So it sounds like one takeaway that I have just from that statement, Walt, is that you're getting more applications from using Mortgage Coach sooner in the process, right?
That would be my assumption, yes. And so in my overall BIPs have increased, my margins increased 31%. I'm sorry, 31 basis points, not 31%. So 31 basis points.
Well, 31 basis points is probably more than 31%, just so you know.
Could be. So
it has to be, unless you make like 300 basis points.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible, man.
Yeah. So that's been huge. With those two things, what was interesting, my overall leads went down, and I'm taking my Zillow lead stuff out. So my just normal leads, my leads had gone down a little bit, but my application to my pre-approvals to applications went up. So I'm more profitable in that sense as well. So you don't have to work as hard if that happens, right?
Awesome. I love it. So effectiveness, right, always trumps efficiency.
Yep.
But when you're effective, you become very efficient.
Yep.
Right? So your effectiveness has gone up. I mean, I'm doing the numbers in my head right now rather than writing them down. Like, you threw out some numbers that I think are shockingly amazing that we shouldn't like just let that slide. Like, basically what you're saying is that your conversion's up. Let's see, if you went from there to there, that's almost 50%, just so you know, if you put it in a percentage. Like, that's insane. So conversion way up, effectiveness up. How has that impacted your day-to-day business from a mindset perspective, from a stress perspective?
Well, it gives one much more confidence. I talked about this on the last call. I had a client that decided not to go with us, and I got upset about it. Before I probably would have just shrugged it off, but I got upset about it, and this is a past client that decided to do a refinance through his current servicer, and I'm like, the servicer doesn't care. The servicer didn't make sure that you're in the right strategy. And so as we went through everything, I just realized, again, it's when you're living in a world of doing a TCA, making sure that the client has options, make sure the client has strategies. It's a whole different world than just an individual loan officer, and that's what he got. And so I got really sad for him because he wasn't really listening on my side, and I'm saying, I felt kind of, I guess just an analogy is I felt kind of like Noah in a way. I've built this ship, and I've been saying, guys, get on the ship. The floods are coming, and he wasn't getting on the ship, and I got upset, and then I just felt sad for him at that point. Does that make any sense at all?
Well, I mean, it makes some sense, but you can't save everyone.
Right.
And that's just the truth. What you can do is educate the hell out of people, give them your best. And if they don't want that type of excellence, then it's not a good fit, right?
Exactly.
So I think that sometimes we have to be careful. I have to check myself on this too when I get mad. Whenever I get angry that someone's not going to use me, because it happens all the time, or they're going to go in a different direction, etc., have to make sure that my anger is directed at myself, not at the person.
Yep.
Right? Like, I got to be mad because I didn't do something right. Right? I didn't execute right. And that's how you get better, is
Right.
going like, okay, by the way, even if it's not true, it's just what I tell myself. Like, even if the person's a complete Dumbo, right? And there was just like no way I could help them because they literally were, aggressive and not smart, right? Like, and they like, that's my least favorite type of client, right? Aggressive and not open to learning anything. Even in those people, I go, you know what? I wonder what I could have done different. Right? I wonder if I could have passed it a different way. I wonder if I used a different word in my presentation. I wonder if, like, I showed them, rather than saving $173 a month, but really focused in on the 83,000 over the life of the loan and really targeted on that. I wonder if that would have been the spark. So there's a big difference sometimes between confidence and ego. And I think that we crap so much in this today's society on, we say that everything is ego, and it's not true. Like, confidence is awesome. Confidence is what we all want in our body, in our businesses, in our relationships. And that's a great thing to have. We always just have to make sure that we check that, is this my ego because I think I'm better, right? Or is this like my confidence and going, I didn't do something right. How can I get better? So I think those are great takeaways, but we can't save everyone. And what we can do is be there for them when they are ready, right? It's something that I talk about all the time with my salespeople, is like, hey, no doesn't mean no forever. It just means not right now. right? No doesn't mean no forever. It just means not right now. Like the only time that I truly delete someone from my database is when like I truly don't want to hear the sound of their voice ever again in the future, right? Now, and that's okay. Right. That's me saying that's a no for me, dog, as Randy Jackson would say. Right. Like, and just moving on and making sure that I can attract the type of people that I want to attract. And what I'm ultimately hearing from you that I love, Walt, is that like, you're like, hey, I'm finding I can be more effective and efficient pouring into the people that want my help.
Yep.
Right. And when you pour into the people that want your help, guess what happens?
You become happier, more
And
confident.
more people need your help.
Yep.
Right. That's what I love about it. Like, I'm just love it, man. Whenever I focus on the dumbbell, I get more dumbbells. Right. Whenever I focus on the filet medallions, I get more filet medallions. Like, so like I'm always trying to pour into the type of people that I want, which is why it's important that we ask for what, y'all? This goes for any of you suckers on this call.
Referrals.
That's right. You got to ask. You got to ask for them all the time, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. It's like literally going to McDonald's and they say, hey, welcome to McDonald's. How may I help you today? And you don't say, you just look at them. You don't tell them what you want. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever. You're going to end up with the McFish when you wanted the Big Mac, right? You just have to literally tell people, this is what I want. And then you'll get more of it, especially when you pour into those deep relationships. So excellent job, man. Those numbers, by the way, are sick. Those are sick, like sick. So excellent job. So Pete, same for you, bud. Same question. What, first of all, you still doing a TCA a day, Pete, dog?
Yes, I am. Became a routine.
Right. Love it. So it's a routine now. It's like a tattoo that's on you. Just can't get rid of it.
It's on my brain. It's like it's a reaction. It's like, I got to do this.
I love it.
Yeah. So what I really loved about the challenge, what you provided here was, I structured it so that every video that I did, I put the link in a spreadsheet, and that actually became a follow-up sheet, because I'm like, well, I have all my links here. I might as well put the status next to them as I'm working through them. So every day I would add a new one, and then I would go back and look through my list. I'm like, oh, I still have to do this. And so not only did my clients get an initial TCA, I gave them a follow-up TCA. So I experienced what Walt did. I had a dip in my closings during the summer prior to the challenge. And my closing efficiency was down to about like 13%. But once I kicked it into gear, it went back up to about 25%.
So double. Listen, double. That's an in and out reference. Double, baby. I love it. You absolutely are crushing it. So you basically doubled your closing percentage over the time frame that we started this.
Yes.
I mean, listen, you guys, we could stop the call right now. If anyone's watching this, just so you know, like, did you hear that? Do you want to double your business? Do you want to double your conversion? Do you want to double your profits? Like, and this all came from someone literally having some accountability and using a tool that's available to all of us, AKA the total cost analysis edge. Right? So simple. Now, I would love to know, so your increase has gone up double, essentially like 90%. All right. What have you changed? Like, so you said you're creating this spreadsheet. Is that, it sounds like a follow-up system that has happened because of creating a TCA?
Yeah. It's just a list, so as part of the challenge, I wanted to be efficient in make sure I had my numbers sent over to you. And so I put their names. I just put the date that I sent it, and I just copied the link out of Mortgage Coach and put it in my spreadsheet. And then I just put one extra column saying, what's the status? And that's what I work off every day.
Awesome. Now, what do you find is your most common response to you sending out a TCA to someone?
The most common is I get, they reach out like right away. I'm able to identify, like, I'll be working through the day, I'll send it out. And then like an hour or two later, I'll go, oh, I'll check. I get notified whenever they watch the video. And then like, oh, I should expect a phone call from them pretty soon. And sure enough, later in the day, or I'll get an email, I'll get a response. And it's like, I was wondering if you could tell me this scenario, or I'd like some more information about this. And, I have that conversation, and they're like, okay, let's submit the application. Let's get moving on this. So it's generally positive.
I want to give you a pro tip. Okay. Pro tip for everyone watching, everyone here on the call. So I used to do this every time. I don't now, in full transparency, just because of workload with how many appointments I do back to back, but I still do it in between appointments when I see this, okay? So whenever I see an alert that someone has viewed it, but I also don't see a response, meaning, hey, thanks for the numbers or whatever, an acknowledgement from them, I will call them, right? As soon as I see that alert, I will call them. I find that, and this is the most common response, by the way, when you do this, it's like this. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on? Oh, not much. I just wanted to see if you had any questions on the link that I sent out to you, you know? And they always say, that's so weird. I literally was just looking at it. Or, oh, what a coincidence, right? So did you have any questions you want me to go through? So using these tools that are given to us as little spark plugs, right? That if we didn't get a response back, that we can hop on the phone with them and engage them. It just shows, once again, your professionalism and how on top of it you are, right? How on top of it you are. And it works really, really, really well. So let me give you guys some common responses. These are just 3 from yesterday. Okay. So here's the first one response. Thank you so much. Everything is super clear to me. I will be doing the first column. Thank you. Pretty good response, right? So this is why I love this technology, by the way, right? Is that I have worked on the craft of being so clear in outlining what I think someone should do, even though I'm giving them options. And then the response is just, yes, this is clear. That's the best response you can ever get, ever. Here's another one yesterday, 12:31 p.m. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you. I appreciate these videos. They didn't reference numbers. They didn't reference anything. That's what the video was, by the way, is a total cost analysis edge of me walking them through everything, but it's thank you. So appreciate the videos. So that's number 2. Now, the third one, I love this one, right, is thank you so much, Jeremy. I so appreciate the kind, thoughtful engagement gift along with these loan numbers, right? Now that was a little extra sauce on it because I found out he was engaged in my first conversation. We sent him an engagement gift immediately, right? So doing what is not expected is going to separate you out. Now, Pete, how many of your TCAs are you doing a video
on? So can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
How many of your TCAs, what kind of dog you got, by the way?
It's like a Pomeranian.
Oh shit, little dog, yapper.
Yeah.
So how, with your TCAs, how many of them are you including a video in it?
Oh, all of them.
Excellent job. Walt, how about you?
Same.
Love you guys. High five. Excellent job. Cool. You know what I like about high fives? I saw this on Ed Milet this morning. It's intentional. You literally have to be intentional about executing the high five. And I just love that so much. It's true. So
hey, Jeremy, can I share 2 quick things on 2 clients? So one, an older client. He had the same response to the TCA. He calls me and just said, I want to do strategy 3. Perfect. And then also a kudos to Dave and Mortgage Coach. I have a friend of mine that works for Microsoft. We're doing a transaction for him. He's purchasing a new home, and I'm doing I did a TCA for him. He wanted to go over the numbers. I sent the TCA to him with a video. He then wanted to go over some additional numbers and an additional purchase. And so I said, hey, are you at your computer right now? He said, yes. I sent it to him and did the, I don't know if we call it the Edge TCA anymore, but anyway, the interactive TCA. And he's like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. I cannot believe this technology. So kudos, Dave. Good job.
No shout out, man, to the Mortgage Coach product and engineering team. Great job, guys. Microsoft executive thinks you guys are badass.
That's super cool. It's true. Doing it live with questions is the jam. It's like a magician act right in front of their eyes, right? They can't believe it. So second question. Now, before I go on, Dave, Todd, Deborah, anything that you guys want to chime in, add?
I mean, I love this conversation. I love the fact that both your conversion rates went up. And to your point, Jeremy, that, if Walt was at 36% beforehand and he increased it by 16%, it's almost 50%, guys.
It's 50%. Yeah.
That's like, how much we make as a mortgage professional. That's a 50% raise that he gave himself. So I just want everybody to think about that the fastest, the most efficient way for you to give yourself a raise is to do a TCA a day. And then for all you executives and managers that are listening on this, And Walt's not like an aberration, like, oh, Walt improved his profit margin by 31 basis points. That's the norm. I mean, like 9 base. I have yet to see anyone who's gone from I'm not doing a TCA a day to I'm doing a TCA a day that hasn't improved their margins by 9 basis points or more. So you tell me, guys, if we're local referral-based professionals or leaders of local referral-based professionals, what kind of energy, what type of management energy should you be putting into having a TCA day culture? So I want to make sure that doesn't get missed by the originators and by the leaders who are listening into this.
And I think, Dave, just one last thing on that. I think it also goes back to a conversation that we had with Tammy a while ago. She was initially on these calls. Her first response was, yeah, I'm doing a TCA every day. And yeah, I'm doing it for every client. But when you start to track it, you realize, at least I realized, I wasn't doing it for every client before. I mean, I was doing it for the majority of the clients, but not every client. And then when you're trying to do a TCA a day, it changes things. You're hunting for that TCA to do, which is something I didn't do before either. So I think it's a different mindset.
Yeah. And it's the win the day energy. You know, you want to win by noon. You want to do a TCA a day. You want to get an app a day. You want to have X realtor meetings a day. So I love that, just making that part of your win the day goals, milestones.
Agreed.
All right, I'm going to make mine quick. I have 3 top takeaways. I'm going to give you number 1, and it's know your numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the first call, Jeremy got out here and he spouted the numbers for his region, and he was able to compare their numbers to Pete and the rest of the team that he had over there that was crushing it. Walt has brought his numbers every single time. And I think in the end, if you're watching this and you don't know your numbers, if you're not tracking your numbers every day and tracking your results, then you're missing out, right? That's takeaway number 1, obvious, but track your numbers.
Love it. Deborah?
For me, this is where the old sports coach comes out. I heard you say, Jeremy, you said you worked on your craft.
Yes.
And so to me, this is a way to practice where I feel like most just practice to practice. And then there's those who practice to be the best, those who practice to dominate, not practicing to see how many loans I have or understanding how much time's left in the month, but because you want to be able to show up to every meeting and be the best and be great. So this puts intentionality when you're tracking your numbers and you're looking at the gaps. For Walt to be able to see the awareness that he did was because he was intentional, but it's also believing that, you know, you don't want to be mediocre. And that's just something I feel like you have within that are, if you're going to show up and you're going to practice, then practice with a purpose. Yeah.
And practice on people, by the way. Like, man, no one got good at basketball by just playing by themselves all the time. Like you got to engage like with other people that are going to swat you. They're going to steal the ball from you. They're going to foul you when you're going to make a layup. Like you have to have some adversity to even know what you need to get better at, right? Otherwise, we believe the narrative that we're just awesome and everyone should work with us. And it's just not true because that's what everyone thinks, right? And so I think practicing on people in real life is critical. Like don't overthink it, make it, send it. If you made a mistake in it, who cares? Yes, they're going to point it out, right? And then yes, you get to fix it. All you have to say is, cool, thanks for that was a typo. How easy is that, by the way, as far as a response when you mess something up? I say it all the time. Like I put one in yesterday where instead of 1.25% on the, this is in a TCA, it's a true story. Instead of 1.25, I forgot the decimal. So it just said 125%. Literally, and I sent it out and they were like, hey, these numbers look insane. It was like $10,000 a month payment or whatever the heck it was. And I got to say, oh, hey, sorry, that's a typo. Let me fix it for you real quick, right? No one cares, right? So practice, mess up on people. You'll learn faster by other people pointing out, which is why coaching, I think, is so important. They're going to show you your blind spots that you don't see, right? So practice on other people. They're going to help you out majorly. So excellent job. Okay, second thing I want to know is that what has been your number one takeaway that you've learned? What has been your number one takeaway that you've learned that you're going to continue on moving forward when this challenge is done? What is the number one thing that you've learned? Walt, I'll start with you.
Well, there's just an accumulation of a lot of different things. And You know, I think you have a comment. Everybody, correct me on this. Everybody deserves great advice.
Good people deserve great advice. Yeah.
Good people deserve great advice, and I think the number one takeaway for me is that not everybody gets great advice, and I need to remember that. And so as I remember that, I then remember really what my mission is and what my purpose is with clients. Where, you know, a lot of times I just get into that kind of that pigeonhole. I get my blinders on, thinking, oh yeah, I mean, I'm not any different than anybody else. And then I realize, oh no, I mean, you know, clients didn't get this information. They didn't get options. They didn't get, you know, connections to financial planners. They didn't, there's a lot that they didn't get. So I guess that would be my number one takeaway.
Cool. People don't get good advice unless they talk to you.
Exactly.
That's my mindset too.
And sorry guys, I popped off for a minute because there's like a major road right outside my office, and there was a pretty bad crash right there. So I'm kind of watching it right now. But
man, they might need to refinance and fix that car. You might want to hop out there, as long as they're not in an ambulance. Somebody call an ambulance.
Well, I heard a big boom and I see a car heading right for my window, and so yeah, luckily the barriers stopped. But anyway,
I'm glad that you're safe. That would have made one hell of an Instagram video though, because this is being recorded if that car did fly through your window.
By the way, not to drift too much, but did y'all see that Dan Keller literally caught a fish on Friday's mastermind call, like live, caught a fish?
Amazing.
It was awesome.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, his son caught a big salmon right in the middle of the call, and he got the whole thing on video.
Oh, that's rad. I'm gonna have to go check that out. He probably, you know, saw one of his TCA videos and just wanted to hop in the boat real quick. That's fantastic. What about you, Pete? If there was one thing you've learned that you want to carry forward, what would it be?
You know, not to be afraid of the camera at all. I mean, I think before all this, when I first got introduced to a mortgage coach, I was very apprehensive. It was kind of like, you know, getting into a cold pool of water, you know, and it's like you dip your toe in or whatever. And you know what? I dove into it. And then with the challenge, I mean, you know, so I went from like putting my toe in the water, then diving in, and then now I don't even think about it. It's just automatic. And so the consistency, I've gotten so much better with my videos, just with, you know, the constant, you know, being consistent in, you know, just talking, having a conversation to the camera. And I've actually had quite a few people from this series reach out to me and say, you know, how did you do this? And I'm like, I just got used to it. I just changed my mindset. And, you know, before I was like, oh, I'm so worried about being perfect. And I was just kind of like, you know, like cardboard cut out, you know, and talking to the camera and very stiff, but I became relaxed. I got used to it. And you have your script and it's just repetition. And it's like, you get so efficient at it. It's liberating. And, you know, it's like, it's not a big deal to me anymore. And I look forward to it now.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that I want you to realize is that it wasn't necessarily your mindset, right? Like I think that sometimes, and remember, I'm a walking contradiction. I'll say it all the time because everything's true if you dig deep enough. All right. But the reality is mindset is huge, no doubt. But what changed your mindset was your actions. Your activity is what actually changed it. Oftentimes, we always like to talk about the flip side, like, hey, we got to change our mindset and then our actions are going to be different. That can be true too. But in situations like this, and what I've learned, by the way, was that accountability trumps almost everything. That was my biggest takeaway. Like I try to live and lead, Pete, you know this just because you're part of the group, through the 3 G's, which is gratitude, right? Generosity and grace, giving people grace when it's not deserved, being generous in information, time, money, whatever that may be, always having gratitude for the good things and the bad things. But I've added an A at the end now. So now it's the 3 G's with an A. Accountability keeps it all rolling together though. right? So those three things, like when we did the actual regional accountability portion of it, I saw you flourish, right? I saw other people flourish in that contest, right? Is that there was actual accountability around it. And I think it's something I talk about a lot, but I don't really enforce too much because I don't like to babysit people, right? Like I want people to actually want the accountability and coaching. But my biggest takeaway and what I learned through this is that everyone that had accountability and that participated, guess what happened to their numbers? They went up. Guess what happened to the people that didn't?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So I look at it and I'm like, crap, I got to be more of a ball buster, right? Like I guess I got to have more accountability more than ever. And I think that it's for the benefit of others, right? Accountability isn't for the benefit of me, it's for the benefit of others. So that was my biggest takeaway in doing this, was that as leaders, right? Managers, you're listening to this, etc. Like be really clear on what you want and how you're going to help, and have some accountability around it. Like have some serious accountability around it. Like that's why Win by Noon works, right? Is that there's accountability around it. So that was my biggest takeaway personally.
Jeremy, can we drill down on that a little bit? Because I had a very similar epiphany. Was, wow, look at accountability and measuring what matters most. And we had a goal. So we had a goal that was clear and easily articulated. We had two metrics: credit report versus disclosures and price exceptions. And then we had a meeting rhythm, which created the accountability. So we had those three things, and magic happened. Two professionals improved their, gave themselves a 50% raise. And Pete created a lifelong habit of video is easy, and it is a habit. So success. What are, like, if you're giving advice to any branch manager watching this, any regional leader, what can be done from an accountability perspective to keep this going? What are some ideas?
Well, first of all, I think that whenever you want to have more accountability, whatever it is that you are saying you want more of has to be clear, has to be concise, and has to be compelling. Has to be those 3 C's, right? It has to be super clear. It has to be concise. It can't be too broad, and it has to be compelling. And I think that usually we hit one of those 3, not all 3, right? When we're trying, and I know I'm guilty of it a million times over as well. Like I can be very clear sometimes. Sometimes I can be very concise. By the way, being concise without clarity or compelling can come off as jerky. Okay, but it's needed, right? So I can be very concise sometimes, and I can be super compelling sometimes. But putting all 3 of those together, I think as a manager and a leader, is really where accountability gets sticky, right? So you have to be very clear on what the objective is. Objective is to make sure that we can increase, right, the number of loans that you're doing, right? Concise. Doing this activity 1 time a day will accomplish this. Compelling. If you do this over a 60-day time frame, you're going to see your paycheck go up 50%. Who's interested? Raise your hand. Right? So being clear, being concise, and being compelling all together are what's the most important, I think, in accountability. Now, that even works on the LO to consumer relationship, by the way. Right? That's why Edge is such a great product for a delivery system for information, is that it allows you and forces you to be clear, concise, and compelling, right? If you just follow the simple steps of using it, which is why it increases conversion, is because now the LO has accountability based on what they have sent. And then the consumer also has accountability to make a choice or ask questions. And I think that that's why it works so well. So if you're a manager leader out there, I'd say you have to know what you want the objective to be. It has to be about someone else, not yourself. It has to be about the people you're leading, not yourself. And as long as you're clear, you're concise, and you're compelling as to what the end result is for them, you'll have automatic buy-in, which equals accountability.
That's awesome.
Dave,
it's funny because I had said my final of my top 3 was accountability matters, and that you have to choose to accept it or not. And I loved it that you were transparent when you reached out to your crew. You didn't have everyone who chose to jump in, right away, but people like Peter who did, their numbers just increased through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people sit on the sidelines. Like Pete, I do a coffee talk with Jeremy every other week, right? For our region.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, is all the LOs on it every week?
No.
Not even close. By the way, used to really piss me off, Walt, just like how you said you got pissed off because someone didn't want to work with you. It doesn't piss me off anymore. Now I'm just like, man, well, what can I do to get these people on? Like, this stuff is important, like that we're talking about, right? Like, how do I get, what am I not communicating to them that would literally make them not want to be on a call where we are solving problems, masterminding together, and going over how we can make a difference in our customers and referral partners' lives? So, but not everyone shows up, right? I don't take it personal anymore, but they should show up. If any of y'all are watching it right now, show up, right? I mean, it's free, for crying out loud.
Dude,
We're all
I'd show
helping each
up.
other. Yeah. Like just come on, hop on it. So that's where I think accountability, though, to tie a bow on it, Dave, matters, is that it has to be clear, concise, compelling. Make sure that you're pouring into them, and it's very, very clear as to what the objective is and what the winning points are for the person that's going to execute it. Cool. Anything else before I move on to my next one, y'all? Deborah?
Move on.
Cool. So what I would love to know, Walt and Peter, is, so Walt, what would you do different looking back on your results? What would you do different if you're coaching someone else at this point, right? You went through this process. Like, what would you do different that you would then coach someone else to do different?
That's a tough one. And I don't, it's hard for me to think of what I would do differently. Carve out time to do more TCAs. I mean, who would I do, find more, have my team help me find more TCAs maybe to do. Of course, I mean, last year we were doing a lot of TCAs with past clients for refinances and unsolicited, sending it to them and that. And this year, not as much. So, actually, this is what I would do differently. I haven't done this yet, and I need to do this. I was counseling one of my loan officers this morning on this during our team meeting. I would go back for the last 2 years and create a list of everybody who has MI and do a TCA for those individuals. And I would also do a one-to-many TCA, if you will, going to past clients, talking about debt consolidation. So, and those are two things I'm going to be doing, but, maybe I could have done those last couple months.
Love it. So what's interesting about this, and what I did right there, Walt, is something that I do to myself every day. And what that is, this exercise that I'm doing with you right now, is it's so much easier to give someone else advice. That's why I said, hey, if you could teach someone else. You just came up with like 4 things that are dope strategies that you could start executing like tomorrow. So, and then I just do them though. So I always write down, like, what would I tell someone to do, right? Like if they were in the loan officer, right? If they were in this situation, like, what would I tell them to do? You know how you just came up with 3 like ideas that could generate 10 loans in 30 days, right? And then you just have to write them down, but then you have to do it, right? So, but counseling someone else in a fantasy is you counseling yourself. And we almost always have the right answers when we're trying to help someone else. It's when we're trying to help ourselves that we get in the way, right? So excellent job. Those are 3 great strategies. I think that you should execute on them for sure, one at a time, and that's excellent. What about you, Pete? What would you do different?
So where I'm at now is, along the lines of what Walt was saying, was that, I wish I had like a customized, video for each scenario. I've actually had some people reach out to me and ask me for advice on putting together some of these TCAs. And I've actually done some Zoom calls with them. And by going through this process, I've actually learned more about the tool itself, because I've kind of like, I have my own process, but then I get a different perspective. So now it's opened my mind to engage with others, in the future more.
And so who engage with others? Who are these loan officers?
Yeah, loan officers from around the country.
Well, bro, get their name and number, bro. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a lead. It's called a lead. So
You're
you're doing
asking for referrals, Jeremy?
yeah, exactly. Now that's great though. So you're learning that collaborating with others, and the more, by the way, that comes down to the generosity part that I talk about, the 3 Gs that I try to live by in my management style. So the generosity of giving and sharing is always going to make you better at your craft. Always.
and that's one of
100%.
the things I've actually learned from you, Jeremy, through this whole process. The more you give, the more you get back. And it goes hand in hand.
100%.
Hey, Jeremy, what
Yeah.
about you as a manager and a coach going through this? You know, what we know your biggest takeaway, accountability matters, but you know, what would you do differently, or what advice do you have? You know, same question back at you.
I think that I would be harder on people. I think that I'm pretty soft on people, quite frankly. And I think that I've backed off that because I used to have a fear, and I still do, and I'm working through it and getting better at it every day. I have a fear of loss, right? So we all have fears. I have a fear of loss just from previous experiences in life, like losing all my money, losing houses, losing loan officers, starting from scratch and losing a region. And fear of loss is a thing for me. But I really don't have any reason to be fearful of that. And I think sometimes not sometimes, whenever I let fear lead the way of my communication or expectations, we just don't do as well, right, as a group. As a loan officer group, as a regional group, in my personal production, team production, whatever it is that whenever I have pretty unreasonable expectations, okay, and I like that. And it's not because I 100% think that everyone should be able to do everything and fulfill crazy expectations. It's that if you really want to reach greatness, however you define it, you're going to have to stretch. So you better have unreasonable expectations for yourself. Like, I literally think that I can have it all, that I can do 100 million every year in 20 hours a week, that I can manage 2 billion, go into 10 billion in 20 hours a week, that I can be home at 6 o'clock every single night and not work at night. Those are all unreasonable expectations. Okay. But they happen. They don't happen perfectly, but they happen. So I think that I could be a little tougher as far as articulating expectations of people and being more firm. I think that I often make suggestions, right, rather than demands. And man, I'm just going to start being more with my wife. I'm going to be a little more demanding. Okay. So, because she gets a lot, she teaches me a lot about expectation management, right? Like, she has pretty unreasonable expectations too, but it makes me a better dude every single day. So I think that I could have more of that. It doesn't have to be psycho, but I think that imposing my will and showing people what they actually can do and having a little bit more of an unreasonable expectation with them will only benefit them in their business. That's probably one of my biggest takeaways as well.
Love that. Well, we got 15 minutes left. I want to close this on time. I do want to get your opinion, Jeremy, because my goal is to change how people get into debt, and to do that by helping loan officers be better advisors, be better mortgage coaches. And I personally think this TCA a day, TCA Tuesday group coaching is an important vehicle to do that. Do you mind, like, what should we do differently going forward? And should we keep this going? Should we keep this group coaching format going in the mortgage coach community, where we've got a coach that's you, maybe other coaches too? We got players that want to adopt the TCA a day challenge. Should we keep it going? And what should we do going forward, in your opinion? And I'm going to give that same question to everybody else on the call.
Yeah. So for me, if it's making a difference in people's lives, you should always keep doing it. Okay. Now, moving forward, I think that things always change and they adapt and they mutate. Like any good idea, any start of something is never how it ends up finishing when it's great. I'll tell you my biggest struggle with the TCA a day coaching stuff is that, and this is hard for people to do. We're on video, we're streaming, we're so this is a hard thing to do because it's not private, right? Is that I think it's hard for people to come with real, true, like hardcore, vulnerable challenges. And that's where the real work really, 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 really will happen. So the only thing I would say that I think could be different would be if we make it mandatory with unreasonable expectations, right? That people literally bring a severe challenge or fail that has happened in the last week or the last 2 weeks outside of just successes, because I've learned 1,000x more from the things that I messed up on than I have from the things that I'm doing well. So I think it's good. I think that, the format is good. I think that it's really important for people to get used to tracking their numbers and knowing where they sit. All of that is second nature to me, but it's not normal for our industry, right? It's not normal for people to do that. But I really would love more talk about challenges and where we're falling short, because I think that's where real coaching makes the biggest difference.
I just want to remind anybody listening to this, there's this public voyeuristic coaching session that we're doing right here. And it's going to be impossible for that to be as personal, intimate, personal growth as you and your branch manager, you and your coach. Jeremy, when you're doing your regional meeting with your regionals. So I just want to push anyone listening to this, like, hey, we want both. Mortgage Coach is going to lead by example, and we're going to do some live public group coaching going forward. We'll figure out the format, but we're pushing you. We're saying, hey, you're a manager. If you want to help give the loan officers that you serve a raise, if you want to help make them more profitable and more successful, you should probably start doing this. Whether you do it every week, every month, do it more, and do it in private and do it in public. Todd, anything you have to say to that? Any suggestions going forward with this group coaching initiative?
Well, I love what Jeremy just said. I mean, I think that's the magic. I feel like we've had some people that have brought that, but it hasn't been consistent. I think the goal would be to get some new players on here who are willing to commit to show up every week, because I do feel like we got that advantage from Walt that we were able to talk to him week after week. Peter, we had you on and off, which was great, because having you here at the end, able to hear how you kind of finish super strong is really great. So I think that's, the biggest part of I say that accountability matters, and you have to choose to accept it or not. And, I think I struggle like Jeremy was, of really forcing people to have that accountability. Over in the Win by Noon user mastermind group, I've got, I keep putting a thread in there. Hey, who's willing to do a CMA or a TCA a day today? And it's only the loan officers in there that respond. So any of you that want to come over there, you don't have to be a Win by Noon user, jump in, but I'm going to really try to have a thread going, Monday through Friday between now and the end of the year, where people can, put in there that they've done it. And then I'll start calling people out now based on Jeremy's feedback, who committed that they were going to be part of it and aren't doing it. I'm going to tag them in there and ask if they did it, because I want people to show up and say, you know what? Nope, I didn't do a TCA today. Nope, I didn't do a CMA today. And then, I feel like once you have that salt rubbed in the wound, you're going to show up, the next day, and you're going to crush it. And I feel like probably the biggest thing would be kind of jumping right in with the numbers like Jeremy does. Hey, did you do a TCA? Hey, walk through the numbers that we had, reconfirm the metrics that we're going to track, and make sure, that everyone's going to do it, because, I know in Jeremy's, platform that he does with the core, I know in Win by Noon, we track really similar things, and just have everyone kind of come in with whatever that's going to be, and make sure that we hold everyone to it each week.
So if you're listening to this and you want to be a player that's part of this group coaching session, you can either comment down below, or you can let myself or Deborah know. You can email one of us. I'm David, Mortgage Coach. She is info@plugandplaysm.com. So reach out to one of us if you want to do it. Deborah, any suggestions or comments you have going forward with this?
Yeah, I have a question for you, Jeremy, on the pack that you bought. Have you handed those out to real estate agents, and have you started coaching them? What was your kind of playbook on that? Because that's one thing I want to see.
Sure.
There's two things I want to see for the next version of this is a TCA a day, but then having unrealistic expectations and doing a one-to-many TCA, at least commit once a week to that, because that is the single biggest mistake that I see lenders do when creating TCAs is they keep it kneecap to kneecap when there's a bigger strategy out there. So making that commitment, and then seeing what this has done for the loan officers. Imagine if you were that guide as a loan officer and you did this for real estate agents. So I'm curious, Jeremy, what have you done to launch that, and how's it going?
Cool. So two different things, two answers. One was, by the way, I said my biggest, like, what would I do different, had more to do with management. When I'm talking about my personal production, 100% it's one to many for me. Like, not even a question. Like, that's the one thing that I would do different, that I would coach people on doing different, that I will do different moving forward, is making sure I'm integrating a one-to-many strategy every single week. Hands down, no question for me from a personal production standpoint. Now, as far as the CMA a day, listen, we're dealing with realtors. Okay. And realtors, if you're watching this, I love y'all. I do, but good Lord, y'all hate accountability more than my kids. Okay. So it's just like, have I launched it? Yes. I have a group of 20. Okay. That I went over full blown webinar. So you asked, how did I do it? How did I unpack it? So I did a Zoom just like this with 20 people on it, right? That I explained the strategy. First of all, here's what I'm doing to generate more business from a TCA a day. Here is the realtor version, right? And I've just used the scripting that Todd used originally way back when, right? This team did it, a team did it, they did it over 30 days. There was 3 buying agent, 120 CMAs equals 8 million in possible transactions, right? So I'm using that scripting. I went through it. When at the end I said, so raise your hand if you're interested in taking part in this challenge and potentially creating $8 million of closings for yourself this year. Everyone does this, right? So then what I did was I hand delivered, right, the CMA a day to all of them that said they want to participate. Okay. We have a bi-weekly Zoom follow-up on it. All right. Guess how many people showed up to the bi-weekly Zoom?
5.
I wish 5. I wish 4, Walt. Okay.
Wow.
2. Why?
Because they didn't do them.
Shame.
Didn't plan.
Yeah, shame. Right? Shame. Just like in Game of Thrones. Remember when the queen was walking out and everyone's yelling shame and throwing stuff at her? It's
Never seen it.
Oh man, you guys got to see this one clip. You don't even have to watch the whole thing, right? It's incredible. I'll send it to you. So it is because they felt self-shame. This is a big challenge, by the way, with, you use the word coaching, Deborah. Okay. I don't believe in coaching real estate agents ever. Okay. Because I did that in the past and my results got worse with those individuals that I was already working with. Okay. Because they felt shame for not doing what they were supposed to do. Right. And so I've taken a different stance on it. And I told them this, by the way, in the Zoom meeting. I'll do it right now with you. I go, listen, you guys, just so you know, this is me just supporting and being helpful to you, sharing some amazing strategies that could make a huge difference in your life. I am not holding you accountable to doing it in any way, shape, or form, but I want to be here and talk about where you're coming up short so I can help you grow. Right. Because when I was measuring agents, this is years ago, when I was coaching them, I had a group, I'd meet every week. I just noticed people stopped coming. They're always like, I don't have any leads to share, like lead tracker stuff. Like they weren't doing it. So my execution has been okay. I didn't get mad because 2 people showed up, right, to the second follow-up. What I did was just created, right, a video follow-up and sent it to everyone, a one-to-many video. So everyone, hey, if you missed it today, here's what we went over. Here were some top takeaways, right? Here's where we could be better. Let me know if you're interested in continuing the CMA a day challenge and making $8 million more in closed transactions this year, right? Everyone responds, thank you so much. I had an inspection. My daughter had a cough, whatever it was, right? Like that they couldn't be on, but there was engagement still. So I think that the CMA a day is huge. And I think it's just about getting more engagement, and it's going to take time for you following up again and again and again and again with these people. But if just one person out of those 20 executes it, and that one person gets an extra 4 listings because of it, that is a mega win in my book. So I think it's time well spent. Haven't perfected it at all. Had 3 follow-up calls on it so far. We had 6 show up one time, 2 show up last time, because what happens again as time goes further out from when someone starts something?
diminishing.
The intoxication wears off. Right? They're super, super juiced. It's like taking 4 shots of Fireball, right? And you're like, woo, wee. And then like, and 2.5 hours later, you're like, oh man, I don't know. It seemed like, what was I thinking when I did that, right? Do I really want to be on this? Do I have time for this? Like, and they forget about that initial intoxication, right? That like got them so excited about it. So I really think that it's a great tactic. I think that the more and more we can talk about it, but I look at it as a year plan, not a month plan. Like, I think that you just have to keep executing it, reintroducing it, and being of value to your partners is never going to be a bad thing.
Yeah. And guys, some closing thoughts, because I want to wrap this up on time. Hopefully anyone listening to this, you got from Jeremy Forcier, his number one thing he'd do personally, more one-to-many TCAs. So a TCA a day, 1-to-1 for a customer, a TCA 1-to-many once a week. And then I'm totally with you when it comes to helping realtors with this CMA, which, guys, this is one of the most valuable things that a real estate agent can do, which is a CMA. It's like the equivalent of a TCA.
Yep.
And for you to remind them, for you to bring resources to them, for you to encourage them, there's value. And even if you only get a few realtors playing the game, to Jeremy's point, guys, that's listings.
Yep.
That's value. And, while Jeremy has 100 real estate agents that refer him business, most of you listening to this don't have 100 real estate agents referring you business. So if you can use this strategy over the course of a year to recruit some new agents, to create some value, we're not giving up. We think it's a big idea. We're going to keep it rolling. Any 1-minute closing thoughts from anyone before we wrap this up? Anybody want to make sure you say something before we close out?
I just want to add something. I just want to say, hey, I look forward to seeing you guys at the Modern Real Estate Summit coming up, and all of this stuff. I mean, I'm so grateful and thankful for being a part of this, and it's really changed me on many different levels, and I just want to say thank you.
Awesome.
Peter, you are an inspiration, bro, and your success and these new habits you've created is major reward for everybody on this call. So thank you for saying something. And guys, next Wednesday, Modern Mortgage Summit, some of America's most, not just successful loan officers, but best human beings. Loan officers that align around this category of, I want to help people and leave them better off, not just as a mortgage, but as wealthy homeowners. So make sure you tune in, you check that out. Jeremy, dude, thanks for being the head coach on this thing. And I look forward to how we reinvent this and continuing to keep you involved. And hopefully everybody who's tuned in stays engaged in this. And take care, everybody. This is a wrap.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.